Good afternoon, ladies, gents and Pikachus. Welcome back to another analysis and breakdown of the Quran of the Muslims. Yes, once again we'll be breaking it down verse by verse into factual, logical statements in English so we can understand who or what is Allah Akbar, what does he mean by the message of this book, and more importantly for us, how does this affect us non-believers in our lives today. So before I start, as I always do, I'm going to tell you now, if you want to question any of the statements I'm about to make or have previously made, please first buy and read one of these, and after having done so you'll recognise every single word I'm about to tell you now is 100% true and accurate of the words of Allah and what Muslims believe today. So if you've been keeping up with the series and you saw the last one, we just went through a load of threats and narcissistic horrible things that Allah is inflicting upon his apostate Muslims who are leaving to go and join the Christians, and now he has realised that his Christians offer a better life and a future that he can't offer to his Muslims. So he's telling them, well, if you're going to go over there and I can't stop you, why don't you be spies for Islam and bring all their money and stuff back to Islam so we can go and kill them with a big holy jihad. But it's not that effective, and he knows that, so what he's going to do now is continue making threats and lying about the Christians in order that his Muslims stop leaving the sinking ship. So with that in mind, let's get started. Now 98, he starts with, he's still talking to his Muslims who are either left already or are in the process of leaving, and he's telling them what they should say to these horrible nasty Christians over here who are giving them food. Say, "O Christian pagans, you would dare reject Allah when he himself is witness to all ye do?" End of quote, end of verse. So what he's saying here is, he's saying, you tell the Christians, O Muslims, how dare they reject Allah and not be scared of him? Don't they realise he's watching everything they do? And even though he can't do anything now, and they're alive and well, and they're doing really nicely, and they've got money, and they're well defended, and even Muslims are joining them, even though all that's happening, don't they feel fear for Allah? That's what this means. And then he goes on in 99 with a further thing. Say this, O Muslims, say, "O ye Christian pagans, why obstruct we who are the religion of peaceful ways? Why do you seek to lead us into your crookedness when ye yourselves did see Allah in divine might, but you deluded yourselves in resistance to Islam? Allah knows exactly what you are scheming and planning." End quote, end of verse. This is going to be a good one, I can tell. So breaking that down, he's still telling his Muslims to say to the Christians, why are you doing this, Christians? Why are you stealing my Muslims so that they're not enslaved anymore and making them happy and giving them food? How dare you? Then he's saying, we are the religion of peaceful ways, even though we were just talking about a holy jihad literally 5 minutes ago in the last verse. We're actually really peaceful. We only want to kill you because you're bad, evil Satans and rabble shepherd Christians. If you weren't, if you were just like us, if you had all the same culture and belief that we have, and you obeyed and only did all the stuff in the Quran that Allah wants you to do and gave all your money to the mosque, then we'd be nice and peaceful. But since you're evil Christians and Jews and you delude yourself, you're seeking to lead us into these crooked ways. You know, these crooked ways of not killing each other and offering your friends peace and friendship and mercy and feeding charities to people who pretty much don't deserve it and have no value to you. How dare you? And then he finishes up by saying, when ye yourselves did see Allah in divine might, you deluded yourselves in resistance. So he's saying here, tell these Christians, even though they know Allah's real and they saw the holy signs, despite that in a few episodes past he actually said they didn't see the holy signs, he said specifically that they were stupid because they didn't see them, and oh wise Muslims are so clever and great because they did see them. But now he's changing his story and saying, no, they definitely saw them, they're just tricking us, you know, they're just evil Satans who are lying about seeing the holy signs so they can deny the worship of Quran. So they're not worshipping him enough because they don't want to admit that he's real, even though they know he's real. And he finishes off by saying, Allah knows exactly what you are scheming and planning. Which I don't really think he does, because he claimed to be mind controlling them at the beginning. Now he's claiming to know what they're planning and scheming, but it seems to me like if he was actually mind controlling them, then it wouldn't be a plan or a scheme of theirs. If he was mind controlling them, it'd be a scheme and a plan of his. But obviously he's forgotten. Allah, Allah, are you feeling all right, mate? Are you having one of your funny turns? You seem to have forgotten that you said you were mind controlling all us non-believers, and that we were only being led around by you. So how can we do scheming? He doesn't want to answer me. So anyway, we'll leave Allah to his senile delusions. What he's saying here is, even though he's mind controlling us, we're planning and scheming outside of that. So we've got a measure of free will to plan and scheme against him, despite very unsuccessful mind control techniques, which I don't believe are real. So that's what he's saying here. 99. Oh, no, we're on 100. 100. O ye Muslim, ignore these missionaries and their troops, for all apostates are sinful, and we shall chase and kill them all. End of verse. Now, this is a very direct statement that he's making. And even though historians will tell you that actually the Quran was written in 532 AD, the fact that he's saying ignore these missionaries and their troops kind of suggests, as I speculated earlier, that the Crusades are already on, which means this is written in 900 AD, not 532. But what do I know? I didn't get this knowledge out of the Quran, so it's obviously wrong and false and evil, because all knowledge comes from the Quran, according to Allah. So anyway, let's continue. O ye Muslim, ignore these missionaries and their troops, these evil Christians who are giving you food and being merciful to you. And the reason you should do this is because all apostates are sinful, and we'll chase and kill them. So not only is it bad enough that you're going to go over there and be sinful, we're going to come and chase and kill you, O Muslims, if you go over there and join the Christians. Despite the fact that we can't kill them outright, otherwise we would. And actually they're quite happy to sit there on the edge of our territory, on the end of their ship, and give passers-by food and blessings. So I think in the breakdown, what Allah is saying here is, ignore these missionaries and their troops because I'm terrified that you will all leave my crappy religion and join those Christians over there and be well fed. That's why he's saying you're all sinful if you do that. And he's saying we will chase and kill you because it's only over there. Like, it's not long to chase, is it? We're literally like 20 meters away from your border, O Muslims. And if you come over and get free food from us, we'll defend you from the other Muslims. So what this makes clear to me is, A, the Crusades are definitely on, and this is definitely not written in 532 because the Crusades wouldn't have started then. And when he's saying ignore these missionaries and their troops for all apostates are sinful, he's making out that the simple fact of leaving and speaking to these Christians is the thing that makes you sinful. Despite the fact that in the last episode he was saying if you go over there and you are spies, then you are not sinful. So really what he's saying is, as we know, you're not worshipping him enough. The real sinful thing is you're not listening to him. We want to go and kill them, want to go genocide. I'm really angry because they're doing so well. And oh Muslims, you are the ones that are supposed to be killing these guys for me, says Allah in the book, but you're not. 101. O Muslims, how can you yourselves deny Allah when you did see the holy signs? You shall be deceived by him. Do you not understand? But those who follow only Allah shall remain upon the righteous path, such as our prophet and messenger. End of verse. Now, it's a bit odd, this one. I think when he says our prophet and messenger, I think he's referring to Muhammad, but we haven't got to the Muhammad bit. Allah, we haven't actually encountered Muhammad yet. So when you say prophet and messenger, have you got another secret one that you haven't told us about? Or is it just you forgot, you know, you're having a senior moment and you're mentioning a guy before you've introduced him in the story? I mean, what are we supposed to think, Allah? I thought you said you were all-knowing and you were mind-controlling us. Allah! Nah, he's not interested. Anyway, let's carry on. Since Allah is asleep over there, having a little difficult time, let's carry on with the breakdown of this verse. So what he's saying here is, O Muslim, how can you yourself deny Allah when you did see the holy signs? Now remember, nobody saw these holy signs. Allah tricked them into agreeing that they saw holy signs when they never did, by saying you are stupid if you haven't seen them and will kill you for being evil, but if you have seen them, you're a wise Muslim and I'll love you. So at that point, all the Muslims, when asked, did you see the holy signs, were like, yeah, we saw them, yeah, honest. And they claim they saw them, but they never did. So now Allah is saying, Go back to your delusion, O Muslims, otherwise you yourselves are denying the truth. You know, you're deluding yourselves. A bit like what he said to the Christians. They really know that he's real, they're just tricking us. Now he's claiming his own Muslims are tricking themselves. Kind of nonsensical, but there you go, that's Allah. I didn't write it, he did. If you don't believe me, buy and read it yourself. Then he goes on to say, but those who follow only Allah shall remain upon the righteous path, such as our prophet and messenger. So, even though we haven't actually been introduced to the prophet and messenger, who is Muhammad, Allah is saying to his Muslims, if you do what they're telling you, then you're not going to be like the perfect man who is Muhammad, and that means you'll be sinful and we won't like you anymore and we'll send other Muslims to come and kill you. So it's a threat between the lines. Weirdly though, it's a threat that a guy who hasn't been introduced yet and we don't know about is going to come and kill you. So it's kind of like that South Park episode where they have the picture of Muhammad but it's just a black block. That black block is going to come and kill you, O Muslims, unless you worship Allah and prostrate yourself and you don't get the free food and the grace and mercy from those Christians, because obviously they're a huge threat to you unless you make friends with them. That's what this is saying. 102. O Muslims, they trick you. You will die to their swords in your foolishness. Fear Allah as he should be feared. Die not for pagans, but die only for Allah in a state of full submission to Islam. End of verse. So I feel like Allah is kind of... he sounds quite desperate here. A minute ago he was begging for money and telling you have to go and be spies and take money back. So he's already a pathetic beggar that tells lies. Now he's just sad. I'm just feeling sorry for Allah. I'm sorry I pushed you away. I just look. I'm worried about you, mate. You're not yourself. You're not. He's not very happy with me. I think I'm going to leave him. So what he was saying here is, O Muslims, they trick you. Not that he, the greatest deceiver, the tricker of all trickers, as he was describing himself in a couple of episodes past, was saying, actually they're the trickers. So even though he's the greatest tricker and he's mind controlling them, they're the actual real trickers and they're mind controlling him. It wasn't me. That's what he's saying here. Look, I know it doesn't make any sense, but I can't not say what he said if I'm reading you the Quran. We have to understand the limits of this guy's sanity and the full-blown insanity that he puts in his book if we're to understand how this affects us today. Because even though this is written a fair while ago, Muslims still believe this as if it's 100% true. They base their education upon this book. That's why we need to know it. So he goes on, Muslims, they trick you, you will die to their swords in your foolishness. So he's again saying, don't trust those Christians, even though they're being nice and feeding you, they're only feeding you so they can kill you. That's what he's saying here. So he's making out these Christians are feeding the apostates who leave and fattening them up so they can be killed, even though they might as well not waste the food because they're on a ship and they don't have much food. They might as well just kill them immediately if that was the case. So in this sentence there's a logical fallacy which points to the fact that A, Allah is fucking completely mental and doesn't know what he's talking about, and B, he's wrong, because there's no point in the Christian missionaries giving the food to the Muslims if they're gonna then kill them. And we know from his holy jihad warning, the only person threatening his Muslims with death is this guy, Allah the insane warlord. So then he finishes off by saying, don't die for these pagans, those guys over there, only die for Allah in a state of full submission to Islam. So he's like ranting now. He's saying, guys, don't get killed and stabbed by those Christians. Die properly for me, killing those guys. So if you're over there and you're going to die anyway, you might as well stab them in the back with a sword first and then get killed. Then you'll be worshipping me enough and prostrating to Islam like I told you to, remember? So in the breakdown, this is a pathetic attempt from Allah to convince his Muslims that even though they're going to get a nice treatment and food and the Bible over there and mercy and grace and everything else, mercy and grace, while they're over there they should definitely kill the Christians. And even though nobody in their right mind, none of these Muslims who have left are going to take any notice, I feel this is more for the benefit of the existing Muslims that have stayed with him. He's trying to convince them that those guys will get killed eventually, even though they won't, even though they'll become Christians and go on to have happy lives. These guys can't know that because they'll leave as well. So Allah is telling them, those guys are fucking dead. Damn it! I'm not supposed to be swearing. These guys are going to get killed eventually by the Christians who will stab them in the back. So if you go over there, that's what will happen to you. But if you stay with Islam, you will die as a Muslim, which is somehow better than being fed first and then dying. So either way, in Allah's own words, you're all going to die Muslims. The Christians are going to kill you, so that you can either be friends with them, be fed, and then die a nice peaceful death, or you can kill them and die in a horrible war. That's the two options you've got. Look, I keep saying I'm not writing this. Allah is writing this. I'm just narrating it to you. This is what he says. He says, and I quote, "Fear Allah as he should be feared. Die not for pagans, but die only for Allah." So he's not giving them any options to not die. And I think that is a nod to his end times genocidal prophecy, which is the point of his Muslims being alive in the first place, to go and kill everybody else. So Muslims, I hope you're listening to this. Come over and be a Christian, or even just be an atheist. It doesn't matter. But the point is, don't throw your life away for this insane maniac who wants you dead. Clearly, he's telling you here. And we move on. 103. Islam is the only rope to hold you all together as brothers. The pagans will only divide you amongst yourselves and cause you to downfall. You were enemies and Allah brought you solidarity. You were in poverty and without wisdom before. Allah gave you life. You must obey only Allah and search again for those holy signs and not betray your brothers for these hypocrites. End of verse. That's interesting, isn't it? So Islam is the only rope that holds you all together as brothers, suggesting that before Allah came along, they were all getting along really well. But I remind you, before Allah came along, in his own words, Egypt was a great and powerful kingdom, and they were getting along just fine, plus they weren't in poverty or at war. So Allah is actually admitting here that even though he's claiming that they were all at war before, that's a lie, from his own earlier words, we know that Allah's only introduction and the only thing that he's brought his cultures is poverty and war. That's expressly in his own words what he says. So he goes on to say, the pagans will only divide you amongst yourselves and cause your downfall. And I feel like if we break this down, this is referring to a Bible verse. What Bible verse is it that he's talking to? Oh, do you know what? I've still got a concussion. I can't remember. I remember God says a house that stands divided will fall. And what he means by that is if you're not friends with your family, if you're not respectful of your friends and family, then your house is weak and it will fall when it's attacked. But Allah doesn't understand that very well. I think he's misread that. And what he's saying here to his Muslims is, those pagans are going to divide you amongst yourselves, and that will cause your downfall. So Allah isn't saying if you don't argue with these guys, you'll be together. He's saying these guys being alive is going to be enough to divide you, and that will cause your downfall. Then he goes on to say, you were enemies before Allah brought you solidarity. So he's... Remember before I said Allah is a socialist dictator? It's weird how he's mentioning solidarity this early on in history, before socialism's even been a thing. And even though I said this must have been written in 900 AD, I'm now thinking, well, solidarity's from the 1700s, so maybe this has been edited down in the 1700s so that it can include the word solidarity, because even though I translated it, that is what the word means in Arabic. So anyway, you were in poverty and without wisdom before Allah gave you life, even though we know that isn't true. Because before Allah turned up in Egypt, it was a much better, wealthier, more peaceful country with no poverty and had loads of allies. But then after he turned up, it quickly turned to nothing, and now it's a really poor kingdom with war and poverty and not much else going on. And then he finishes off by saying, you must obey only Allah, search again for those holy signs because you must have forgotten them, even though they were amazing. You saw God with Catherine wheels going on like Jesus is spinning on crosses in the sky. Even though you definitely saw those, you must have forgotten, so go and find them again, says Allah in the book. And the last thing he says, this is the most important bit of this verse, is do not betray your brothers for these hypocrites. So he's trying different attempts to convince his Muslims not to leave. The first one he says is, Islam's the only reason that you have brothers and friends in the first place. You should be killing each other. Those guys are going to divide you and cause you to die. And the third thing is, if you leave, you're a hypocrite and your brothers will hate you. Look, I didn't write it, alright? Just bear with me. Allah I'm having a lot of trouble here trying to convince people that you actually really said this. So, if you don't believe me, buy and read the Quran of the Muslims for yourself. Don't buy this one because it's like falling apart. Get a good quality one. And after reading it, you'll know that this is exactly what it says. And we move on to the last verse, 104. Let you rise up in rebellion against these evil sneaks and satans, and come together as a force to fear in battle to destroy all who did not obey. End of verse, end of reading. And we get to the last act of this page, which is Allah's last desperate plea to his apostate Muslims to not leave unless they're going to be spies and come back and worship him. Because let's be honest, life isn't that great if you're a god who nobody worships, and that I feel is the fate of Allah now. He's realised his ever-dwindling supply of faithful Muslims are now looking enviously over at the food and the riches of the Christians. But rather than wanting to kill them, the Christians have got their arms open and are saying, come and be friends with us, we'll feed you and we'll teach you stuff. And the Muslims are thinking, hang on a minute, we could be like them, we don't have to be in poverty or at war, we can go and have a great life. So they're sneakily coming across, getting the food and getting educated and being friends with the Christians. So Allah is saying, no, come back, let's rise up as a rebellion of evil. A revolution, if you like. Let's have a revolution against the Christians over there, those sneaks and satans. He's insulting them. And come together as a force to fear in battle, to destroy all those who did not obey. So at the beginning, he's trying to motivate people to come together as a force of rebellion. But then he forgets and says, let's go and destroy them all. And it's like, Allah, look at them. They are well armoured, heavily armoured, really well trained, rich troops with a righteous cause that you would have already killed if you could. So there's no point in telling your Muslims to rise up in battle against these guys. They'll get flipping well slaughtered. And they know that. Plus the Christians don't want to kill them. So I feel like, in summary of this whole page, Allah is desperately wigging his Muslims so that they don't become Christians. And he realises how hollow his words are sounding. So he's dispensed with the whole threats and curses. Now he's just pleading and begging for his Muslims to not go away and stop worshipping him. And I feel, as we'll find out in the next episode, that just ain't gonna be a thing. So, that's the end of this video. Hope you enjoyed that and you learnt something. I'm going to go off and try and shake the fuzz off my head from being concussed, and I'll see you back here tomorrow at 7:15. In the meantime, God bless, have a great night, and I will see you lovely people in the next one. Bye now. And on a separate note, a big thank you. I'm really so grateful for all the support emails and nice comments that I've received. I'm recovering well. So that's all for today. I'll see you back here at 7:15 tomorrow. In the meantime, have a lovely evening. God bless you all, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye now.